Black Scully on check. Got a little workout gear on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. On today's docket, Brendan Sorsby, who's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in college football, has checked himself into a residential treatment for gambling today. This is breaking news, really coming out of Texas Tech camp, and he's currently being investigated by the NCAA. And we know that the NCAA has a strict no tolerance policy for gambling. We're going to talk about that so much more in depth a little bit later. I have a couple of thoughts about what they look like heading into the season. Also, US Today Top 25. I've been saying it all spring. I think Indiana is the best team in all of college football. They went 16-1 in Natty last year. But we're going to look at who USA Today has in their top 25. This is post-spring. We'll be reacting to a lot of top 25. CFB Nation, we're currently polling our top 25 now, so we should have that out over the next few days as well. Kalen DeBoer received a 7-year extension to stay at Alabama. I think we're starting to see teams do the reverse of what they did in the past. In the past, you would see teams like, hey, man, you're not doing your job. Let's keep it moving. But now you're starting to see teams hand out extensions. Sort of like, hey, a vote of confidence. Hey, we believe in you. We seen Luke Fickell. They do it with Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. Kalen DeBoer has received a contract extension. And, of course, he's following the GOAT of coaching and Nick Saban. So it's really difficult to follow that. But I think this is Alabama's way of saying, hey, we believe in you. Jeff Brohm also has been given a contract extension. He's now locked in for 8 years. When I look at disciplinarians in the sport of college football, the first name that comes to mind for me is Kirk Cincinnati. The very second name that comes to mind for me is Jeff Brohm and what they're able to do at Louisville. So well-deserved for him. Alabama, huge recruit news for them. They got the number one overall quarterback in the 2027 class in Elijah Haven. That, I think, will be huge for Alabama. And also, I'm going to go through every ACC team. We did this on a Reaction Monday a week ago, and I'll do it pretty much like a few days after they do it. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on win totals for every ACC team. We'll give the FanDuel odds. We'll look at the schedule, and then together we'll come up with how many games we think each team will win. And then also the editorial piece that's on the Brendan Sorsby scandal. What's next for Texas Tech? What's next for the Big 12? I think there's so much to talk about today. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation on the college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football. We're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball. Alrighty, let's get this thing kicked off into the news style. You guys should know a lot of these stories. So Diego Pavia goes undrafted, and it's one of those things that's kind of rare for me. I know a lot of people thought because of the height, because he runs his mouth, which I don't 100% agree with. I think the kid is just very confident. I thought he earned the right to run his mouth with everything that he's been through, and he's worked his butt off to be as good as he was. And I think he's one of the few, I think he's the only Heisman finalist, person that wasn't drafted. But he's one of also the few Senior Bowl casualties. Like, normally you go to Senior Bowl, you play well, you move up. That's normally the way it works, but he wasn't drafted. And also, some other guys that I respect a lot, Luke Altmaier wasn't drafted. Also, Sawyer Robinson, you couldn't tell me that kid with prototypical size, his ability to throw the ball, you couldn't tell me he'd have went undrafted as well. And I think what we're seeing is that the quarterback position isn't as the premium as it used to be. You got a whole conference in the AFC South who, I know, CJ Stroud didn't play well. He had the sophomore slump. Still, this team still went to the playoffs, but you look at, Jacksonville Jaguars, where they have a Trevor Lawrence, right? The Colts believe that they have their guy. Tennessee thinks that they have their guy. And, you look at this and you say, wow, maybe the quarterback position isn't as of a premium as it is because we have such stellar play at the quarterback position. I think another conference is the AFC West. If Fernando Mendoza works out with the Raiders, and then Bo Nix, outstanding year for Denver last year. Jay Holbert, Herbo. Justin Herbert's been putting up amazing numbers with the Chargers, and then Pat Mahomes coming off an injury, but he's still the best quarterback in the league. It isn't the premium that it used to be. The NFC East, Dak Prescott. Dallas Cowboys fans hate him, but all he does is put up numbers year in and year out. Jackson Dart, what we've seen, his rookie campaign got a guy in John Harbaugh that I think is going to be an outstanding head coach there, and he got more pieces around him headed into this season. Quarterback, premium, right? The Commanders, they have their guy at quarterback. The Eagles, they have their guy at quarterback. So once you look across the league and you really scan the league with a fine-tooth comb, I think you come to the conclusion that, damn, this is probably one of the first eras where the quarterback isn't as premium as it used to be. Because normally you had, a few teams that say, hey, we need a quarterback, or our quarterback is getting old. Yes, we saw Todd Simpson go 13th, and I don't think Coach McVay really agreed with that pick. I think if it was up to him, he'd have added Mekhi Lemon from USC, but that's neither here nor there, and that's a discussion for another day. But I just think that the quarterback position, you're starting to see elite play. Even with some teams like Cincinnati, they haven't gone to the playoffs the last couple of years, and Joe Burrow's one of the best quarterbacks in the year. It's just not at the premium that it used to be, but they're playing stellar play. So Heisman Trophy finalists, first finalist to go undrafted in years, right? And then it was the height was the major concern. I think it was 5'9" to 7 fifths. The age was also a concern as well. And I think this is heartbreaking for a kid to do what he did at Vandy these past 2 years at a school that just couldn't cut it on the gridiron. It pisses me off, and I think that the media does, and the fans alike, do a terrible job at mistaking confidence for arrogance. To play football, to be undersized at a position when you got guys that are 6'3" and taller in front of you on your offensive line, and to play it at the position that he played, the games that he put his body on the line, I think that confidence is what keeps him going, and the fact that it was looked like is arrogance to me is frustrating. He did accept a rookie minicamp invite from the Baltimore Ravens, so I hope he figures it out. But what I think will happen and what I hope happens is he has a stellar preseason, because the Ravens are notoriously known for not playing players. Even though Harbaugh isn't the coach there anymore, they're notoriously known for not playing players. You won't see Lamar Jackson, so I think if Pavia is able to make it through the cuts and has an opportunity to play preseason ball, I think there'll be a lot of organizations. He'll show them why they should have drafted him. I know the height. Our good friend Dante Sale over at Gridiron Apex has a picture that went viral, and everybody was using the picture. And it showed how truly short he was in comparison to his offensive line in front of him. But, Troy Smith once said, because he was a shorter quarterback as well from Ohio State, said it's the passing windows that you're looking at. You're not necessarily trying to throw the ball over your offensive lineman, but you're just looking through the window. So I hope he has a stellar preseason. I hope he finds a roster, and he'll be a kid that's willing to give it all. You can use him like a Swiss Army knife. Put him in on third and short, whatever you need to do. I just think this kid is a football player, and I think he'll make a roster. Our story number 2 is Kalen DeBoer gets a massive extension at Alabama. I think some people will say it's not deserved. In my opinion, it is deserved. It's difficult following the guy, right? Think about how bad those Chicago teams were immediately after Jordan left and after Pippen left. It's difficult following the guy. The greatest coach of all time in our sport is Nick Saban. I don't think that can be debated or argued, right? And he had to follow that. And, back-to-back seasons where I think they ended the regular season like 9-3 doesn't cut it in Tuscaloosa, but they were able to go to the playoffs. They were able to get a win, but they got hands and feet placed upon them when they played Indiana in the Rose Bowl. I think that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But I do think this contract extension was deserved. It's not like this guy isn't putting the work in. I love that Ryan Grubb is with him. He was with him for this past year. And if Keelan Russell is the guy at starting quarterback, I know that thing is not subtle. Austin Mack still 100% has a chance to win a quarterback job. I think you're going to see this offense go to the next level. The thing that I am most afraid of in Alabama for the last 2 seasons, they've struggled to run the ball. And when you think of Alabama football, they've always had that innate ability to play physical and win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. But the fact that they haven't been able to run the ball scares me a little bit. But I do like what they have on the outside. This is well deserved by Kalen DeBoer. If you don't think that this isn't well deserved. I'm not sure what you think. He does have a buyout that is $10 million through January 2027. And when you start to look at these numbers, you start to say to yourself, I see what you did there. And it drops to $8 million in 2028 and $6 million in 2029. It's 28 and 8 in 2 seasons. I think that's pretty well. Did not make the CFP in his first season, in his inaugural season. Many people believe they should have, but he did make it this past season. So their AD, Greg Byrne, he's an excellent coach and has done a commendable job developing our student athletes. I also think he's coaching in a more difficult era as it pertains to parity. Think about what parity has brought to college football via the NIL. We may not all love the NIL. We may not all love the chaos and the semantics that happen each and every offseason. We can all point out 15 things that need to be fixed in our sport as it pertains to semantics. It's still a beautiful sport in the fall, and I'll make sure I say that every effing episode, right? But I think that this guy did deserve this extension. I don't think it's like one of those situations where we seen in Wisconsin. Luke Fickell getting an extension wasn't due to the results. It was due to, hey, we're going to give you this vote of confidence because we want you to get this thing right, because we believe that you bring a great deal of culture, and that's what we're going to get with you, right? Our next story, Jeff Brohm gets an 8-year, $64 million extension at Louisville. This is deserved. This is absolutely 100% deserved. Shout out to Jeff Brohm. I said it earlier in the cold open. When I look at coaches that hold their players accountable, you better be able to explain yourself after every pass, even if it wasn't an almost interception or whatever. I think of Kirk Cignetti. I think of Jeff Brohm. There was a play. I always love to bring this up. There was a play with Miller Moss playing in Miami, a game that they ultimately ended up winning. He almost threw an interception. He didn't throw an interception. The guy almost threw an interception, and Jeff Brohm gave him the business on the sideline. And if I want to coach in this era of college football, maybe back in the day I wanted the players coach just because these players weren't getting paid. Maybe they were getting paid under the table. But in this era of college football, we see that the Kirk Cignetti way works. We see that the Jeff Brohm works. I'm going to hold you 100% accountable. I'm going to treat you like an employee and not a student athlete. That's what I like to see in this sport. If I'm an AD, that's what I want in a coach. Hold these kids accountable, right? That's why you don't really hear anything coming out of Indiana, players doing stupid stuff. Or anything coming out of Louisville, players doing stuff in the offseason like you hear down at some of these places like in Athens. You don't hear because these coaches hold these players to the highest standard of accountability on and off the gridiron. This is well-deserved. Jeff Brohm is going to be, and Louisville is going to be one of the teams you better respect year in and year out. And I think every year they have the ability to compete at the highest level, and they'll be always on that fringe cusp of being able to play in the ACC championship. I love this hire for Louisville. Shout out to him. This is well-deserved. We knew that this guy was a no-nonsense guy. His first ever media days at the ACC media days, and we knew that this guy was real deal. So this is well-deserved. Shout out to him. Bill Belichick has 0 players drafted. To me, there's no such thing as coincidence. I do believe things happen with 100%, 1,000% on purpose. Not saying that UNC had a guy that was worthy of being in the draft, but you look at this guy who should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer in the NFL. He wasn't. You look at his treatment of the New England Patriots, this past year, or we don't want anything of Drake May posted on our Twitter, or any former North Carolina players that play for New England. We don't want anything up there. I think that was a stupid move. This is college football, brother. This is not the NFL. At college football, those type of moments build recruiting 1,000%. Oh, this guy, Drake May, just led his team. He's a UNC guy. Just led his team to the Super Bowl, right? Had a bunch of big regular season wins. That is a recruiting vehicle. So if he's having an outstanding season, you use that to the best of your ability to get the next great quarterback, to get the next great guy for your program. There are a myriad of things we can point out and say that Bill Belichick did wrong in his first season, right? A lot of it became more about him and his girlfriend than it did about football. And that's not a shot at him, because I know and I believe in my heart that Bill Belichick puts the work in. But sometimes it just was more about the semantics than it was about actually playing football. And you look back, that TCU game last year was abysmal. So I don't think that this thing was 100% by coincidence. I do believe that this is a targeted thing. A lot of people take issue with Bill Belichick and the way that he handles his business, right? So I think that they need to really get the ball rolling here. And when I say really get the ball rolling, we're going to talk about ACC win totals a little bit later. They need to make the bowl this year. And if you guys think that Bill Belichick is unfireable, he can get fired in this sport. What he does in the NFL or what he has done in the NFL has nothing to do with he did with this sport. It just doesn't. And that's the fact of the matter. We always say that college football is not a country for old coaches. This is something we always say. We always say no country for old men in this sport. This sport needs young, sharp minds that understand these players, that understand when these players get these NIL deals, they're going to get these jerseys. They're going to get this jewelry. They're going to get the latest fast cars, and they're going to be surrounded by a lot of women. They need coaches that's going to understand that and that can get to them at their level, right? So that's all for the Bill Belichick situation. Also, story number 5, Elijah Haven, number 1 overall quarterback in 2027 that's committed to Alabama. You guys know I don't do a lot of recruiting stuff on here. I'm one of those guys, like, you know how some coaches hate rookies and they give them the worst vet, right? I'll be one of those guys, right? I love to pay attention to recruiting, to who's getting the blue chippers and how those blue chippers translate to the gridiron, right? Because everywhere that you may go don't develop talent the same way that the next place may develop talent. You're just not going to see that. So to me, it's what you do when you early enroll, when you should be enjoying the last, semester of your high school years, but you're here, you're already enrolled in college, you're already at these winter workouts, you're already at spring camp, and it's time to play ball. That's when I start to evaluate you. I don't give a damn what you did in high school. Throw for 10,000 yards, I could care less. What do you do when you get on campus and your eyes are wide open and they're bright and you're trying to understand that, the high school playbook, they may have had 100 pages. Now you got a 300, 400 page, learning just the offensive line commands alone takes a long time. It's different. It's different nuances. So shout out to Alabama for getting them. Elijah, congratulations. Enjoy, signing your national letter of intent. But I won't be paying attention to you until you arrive in Tuscaloosa, winter of 2027. And we'll see what you do. That is how I view recruits. It's always how I view recruits. If you want to know what he's done in high school, I think his junior season threw for just shy of 4,000 yards, 73% completion percentage, 62 touchdown passes. Also had a bunch of rushing yards as well. He's 35-5, I think. 3-year starter. If you're into that stuff, that's cool. The governor is not. I want to see what you do when you get on campus. What you do in high school is not important to me. That's not how I set up my show. It just isn't. So that's our Into the News segment. We're going to move right along. So on this show, I've always prided myself on being able to do editorial pieces. Some of my favorite sports shows growing up was like the Sports Reporters with like Mitch Albom. I even read Rich Albom's book, Tuesdays with Maury. I think it's an outstanding read if you haven't read that book before. I've always loved sports shows whose focus was in editorial pieces and talking football. I don't like the good versus evil that we have now. Well, you have to like LeBron James. You can't like LeBron James. You have to like the Cowboys. You can't like the I don't like where our sports TV has gone. I think that's why you, the consumer, say, hey, I would rather go watch the people on the internet who's having more of these editorial pieces. And they're just talking college football in a conversational tone in these editorial style pieces. So shout out to the Sports Reporters. One of my favorite shows growing up, sports shows growing up. And so it's, that's why I have kind of conformed and configured my show in that facet to where it's editorial style pieces. Let's talk about Brennan Sorsby. Heading into the transfer portal, I said this kid was the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal. I didn't think it was close. Some people, other publications might have had someone else as the best quarterback or the best player in the portal. I thought this kid was. And then, he could pass the ball for sure, but it was his dual threat ability. This kid can really run the rock, and I thought, once he arrived at Lubbock and you surround him with the pieces that he needed to be surrounded with, and down there at Texas Tech, they ain't afraid to spend money. They're not afraid to spend money at all. So I thought it was a match made in heaven. And then we get to this point where, all right, Texas Tech is real. I think they're the overwhelming, or I thought they were the overwhelming favorite to win the Big 12 this upcoming season. But let's give the facts about Brennan Sorsby and his gambling in college sports. So I turned it into a bigger editorial piece. It's not just about the Brennan Sorsby situation. I I love that. West May, man, it's good talking to you. The frontal lobe for boys don't fully develop until you're 25. You have grown men giving kids thousands of dollars with little to no financial direction. That is, shout out to West May, man. That's a great quote. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby checking himself into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction announced today. Made thousands of online bets on a variety of sports via a gambling app. The NCAA is investigating. NCAA, there's a few things they don't play with. Eligibility is one of them, and this gambling thing they don't play with. And NCAA is against prop betting, by the way. We're going to talk about prop betting in a little bit. Allegedly bet on football as a freshman back in 2022, right? This is no law for enforcement involvement, no game fixing, no attempt to influence outcomes. It's just described as a fury and steady, small bets over a period of time. His decision to enter treatment while enrolled is really unprecedented for a high-profile college athlete. Joey McGuire, we love Brendan and support his decision to seek professional help. Taking the steps requires courage. This is throwing yourself at the mercy of the court. This is throwing yourself at the mercy of the court. We see Tennessee do it a few years ago, right? When you know you about it, we see Michigan football do it a couple of, with like self-imposed sanctions and things of that nature. This is throwing yourself at the mercy of the court. Here, I have a problem. I admitted I had a problem. I'm going to get help for that problem. Don't penalize me. Because why? I was proactive and not reactive. I didn't wait for you guys to go tell me to do something. I did it on my own. This is what Texas Tech money is able to do. This is 1,000% what Texas Tech money is able to do. So, no timetable on treatment, no timetable on return. Texas Tech will have no further comment on the status. He roughly had like $5 to $6 million NIL deal, and one of the highest paid quarterbacks in college football. But, what now? What does this mean now? Because we've seen a myriad of reports that say, hey, he might not be playing this year, right? And we started to look at college football nerds like us, started to look at the depth chart. Oh, damn, Will Hammond is there. I remember the game he came in mop-up duty versus Utah last year and played stellar, right? So they have a guy at backup that can be outstanding, but he's coming off an ACL tear. Will he be ready week 1? And then I think, guess who's coming to town either week 2 or week 3? You have Houston, who I think is one of the best teams in the Big 12. This is not good. This is not good because the government, shout out to President Trump, they're shutting down these ghost transfers, right? Due to, the suspensions and the loss of scholarships. Is that something you're willing to do to deal with a ghost transfer? But like I said, when I did my ghost transfers episode, who's going to hold us accountable, right? I don't know if the government involvement has made the NCAA say, hey, we need to get our stuff together. President Trump not happy with we letting these kids run around do whatever. We not breaking necks and cashing checks, right? But they do have a guy at backup quarterback. Will they risk trying to go get a ghost transfer if this thing comes down and the NCAA lays down a hammer? I'm telling you, we the media clown the NCAA and Charlie Baker a lot. We say the NCAA don't like college football. We feel strongly about that. We always say that the NCAA can't stand college football. That's something we feel so strongly about. We always say, well, what is the NCAA going to do about it, right? Do they even care, right? And I think once you start to have all of these things and they're hearing this, and you hear it all the time, at some point they're going to get their shit together and really start holding people accountable. And they're going to make an example out of somebody. I'm not saying they're going to make an example out of Brendan Sorsby, but at some point they're going to get sick of hearing all this vernacular, right? And all this verbiage. And they're going to say, you know what? We're going to lay down a hammer. You are the team we're going to make the example out of, right? You're not allowed to bet if you're a college athlete. You're not allowed to bet if you're a college athlete. This isn't the first time we even seen anything like this, right? And Brendan Sorsby, right? I looked at this kid. I said he's going to have a phenomenal year at Texas Tech. I truly believe that. I think his running ability is something that if you wasn't paying attention to Cincinnati football, you were going to see on the big stage this year. If he doesn't play this year, how much money would he cost himself? Jamal McCoy was due to injury, of course, but he lost a lot of money by not playing this past season. And I thought he was clearly the number one cornerback in the draft. But this isn't new, right? Remember, right before the season started last year, we had the money line Mateer thing come up, right? John Mateer, Oklahoma, right? Venmo transaction labeled as sports betting went viral. Alleged betting on, UCLA versus USC from 2022. Of course, it was denied. They were saying it was inside jokes. And when you're in college, you have a bunch of those insider jokes. When I tell you some of the stuff now, you can't say it now because cancel culture, but some of the stuff we were saying in college back in the day, I promise you, we'd have been canceled a long time ago. I'm just being real with you, right? Iowa State in 2023, remember that? Hunter Deckers lost full eligibility betting on his own team. So I think him checking into the rehab facility for gambling, I think that is completely him throwing himself at the mercy of the court and hoping that he gets a light suspension and not fully denied for this upcoming 2026 college football season. So what does that mean for him, right? What does that mean for him, right? And we're going to get to that in a second. But Texas 2025 player deemed ineligible for wagering with Prize Picks. FEI currently interviewing college athletes, associated ESPN for indictments in college sports are forthcoming. 12% of abuse content aimed at college athletes is linked to sports betting. That is crazy. Nearly 1 in 5 harassment cases in men's football involve betting-related abuse. I agree with that 100%. This is not a new pattern. It's not a new pattern at all. And I'm going to get to the bigger picture soon, but with him, what if he's completely said, you know what, you're not allowed to play this upcoming year? Then I think he and his agent will then pivot. And he's also being sued by Cincinnati. Oh, by the way, this is going on as well, right? For the buyout payment not being collected. Supplemental draft, I think, will be his route, right? He and his agent will talk about the supplemental draft. And I think if he's in the draft this year, they've been one of the top 3 quarterbacks selected. I truly do believe that. So if he is denied and don't have the ability to play this upcoming year, I think the supplemental draft would probably be the best case scenario for him. The bigger picture, like even in the NBA, we had this gambling issue. Like Chauncey Billups, October 25th, Billups alongside with Terry Rozier. Some of the Terry Rozier footage was bad. It was really bad. And I think he won his case, so maybe it wasn't that bad in their eyes. Damon Jones, FBI investigation into illegal sports betting and rigged poker games tied to the 4 mafia families. A total of 34 arrests. Billups facing money laundering conspiracy and wire fraud conspiracy up to 20 years. Each charge pleaded not guilty. And trial is this upcoming September. Rozier accused of leaking insider information to gamblers. Put on leave. Arbitrator ruled NBA must pay his full $26.6 million salary. Shout out to him for getting his money. Exactly. Westmay said it so great. He said Sorsby is just the one that we know of. This thing that's going on in college sports, like, come on. How many people are like, hey, you my best friend, you go ahead, you take this money, right? And I tell you what to bet on. Like, how much of that is going on, right? So this is what I will say. I'm at college football games and college football events all the time. Last year we went to 3 media day events. This year we have the feisty goal of going to 6 media days events in July, right? And you see it. These kids will be in nice 3-piece suits with jewelry. These kids got jewelry. I'm talking about bracelets, iced out. You know what I'm saying? Bust down Rolly Avalanche, right? The chains, like, they look the part. They look like artists. They look like music artists, right? That's how they all look. You even see it in the games. They got chains on. These kids are driving luxury vehicles at 18 years old. If I was 18 years old and I was handed this type of money, I'm telling you, I have a mother, though. I have parents that are crazy. So they'd be like, nope. Nope, we're going to put that money up. This is what you allowed. And whatever I was allowed, I'd spend it all. Like, I promise you, that's what I did at 18 years old, right? So you got 18 or 23-year-olds spending millions of dollars, right? Or hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You cannot hand, a 19-year-old $5 million. Not saying Sorsby is 19. I believe he's 22. And get shocked when some of them are, end up on a gambling app. I think the fix is simple, and I really do. I don't think it's a spending issue, and an integrity issue, right? The moment a player signs their national letter of intent, or NILI, right, they should be automatically and immediately blacklisted from every internet and in-person casino and sportsbook in the country. This is very simple. This is not as difficult as we make this seem, right? These casinos already have people that are backlisted. I forget the guy that plays Baccarat, and he goes on all of the YouTube channels and talk about how much money he made playing Baccarat and tell some of these extravagant and crazy stories. A lot of people in comments say he's lying. I don't think he's lying, right? But this is easy. You sign your national letter of intent. The moment you're enrolled at a university, you can't go nowhere. First of all, a lot of these kids are underage. But even if they're of age, they should be blacklisted. They should not allowed to be to gamble anywhere, online and in person. They shouldn't be allowed to do this, right? And the technology exists. DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet, GMCs all have identity verification and self-exclusion. Like, whenever I go to the casino, they scan my ID. It's not, like you going to a club and the security looking at your ID with the flashlight. They scan your joint. Your full face comes up. This ain't difficult to do. You have to do the same thing. If I want to play on FanDuel or Prize Picks, you got to take a picture of your ID. This ain't difficult to do. You sign your national letter of intent and you intend on playing college football the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. Hey, man, you blacklisted from everywhere. Make this happen. This isn't difficult to do. Yes, Hunter Deckers, West May. Yep, it was Hunter Deckers that was on the app. Yes, and he was suspended. It was Hunter Deckers. You're 100% correct. So this isn't the first time we're seeing it. I think this is the first time we're seeing it with a high-profile college football athlete, a guy who we expected to have, a stellar year and be highly touted in the 2027 NFL draft. I think this is why it's so big, right? I think this is why, the news is so important. So we're going to move on. Brendan Sorsby, I truly wish you the best. Hopefully you being able to throw yourself at the mercy of the court and go get help immediately. I think that should bode well for you. I hope you're not suspended. I do want to see you play in Lubbock this year. If he isn't able to play, hopefully Will Hammond is ready to go week 1. And I think Houston is coming to town week 2. So that's going to be crazy. If you are struggling with gambling addiction, there are places out there that can help. I think the access to gambling now is greater more than any time. Back in the day, you had to, go in person to a casino or something like that. But now you can gamble straight from your phone. So if you do have a gambling addiction or think you need help for gambling addiction, it's like any other addiction, like alcohol addiction or drug addiction. You don't know exactly what this is doing to you. Go get help. You can Google some places. I think there's a hotline you can call as well. If you're having a gambling addiction, you're struggling with stopping, get help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. It's okay not to be okay. All right, we're going to get to our next segment. All right, so for this next segment, we're going to talk about USA Today's post-spring top 25. Everybody is about to do their post-spring top 25. So if you've been like, hey, where they're at, they're coming. Trust me, they're coming. Everybody's going to do a post-spring top 25. We are currently working on polling ours as we speak right now. Hopefully we'll have that out for you and ready to go by Wednesday. So this is USA Today's top 25. We got Ohio State at number 1. They, we know what they're going to do. Arthur Smith is their new offensive coordinator. They've really hit on these NFL guys at coordinator positions. They really have. We saw Matt Patricia come there last year. It was like, college football got some new nuances that's a little bit difficult to deal with than the NFL. The wire hash marks, how wide some of these, the veer and shooting and some of these systems are. He adjusted to it just fine. But, Julian saying, Jeremiah Smith, Bo Jackson, they're good to go. I can understand why they're at number 1 on USA Today's top 25. Notre Dame is number 2 on USA Today's top 25. There's a lot of people putting a lot of stock in CJ Carr. What he's able to do last year, I think he is going to have the ability. Mike Denbrock is going to open up the playbook for him this year. He definitely lost the entire backfield with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. Aeneas Williams, I think, is the answer for this year, but I think you'll see them throw the ball a lot more this year. Coming in at number 3, we got Texas. Arch Manning, little injury concern, but I think he'll be all right. He'll be ready to go. We know that they added Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo, Raleigh Brown, Hollywood Smothers. They have talent, and I think that they beefed up this offensive line enough as well. So I'm all in for Texas this upcoming year. So I'm not mad at it at all. Coming in at number 4, we got Georgia, USA Today, number 4 team. We got Stockton back for year 2. Nate Frazier will be the bell cow that they need him to be. Biggest question is, who's going to be the guys on the outside at wide receiver. But it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with UGA this upcoming season. They got the coaching. They got the culture on the field and off the field is where they struggle a little bit. Indiana, USA Today, number 5. National championship 5th. I don't know if this is a roster construction thing or you don't want to rate them too high. They're made the college football player Kirk Cignetti first year there. Won the whole damn thing the second year. Was able to replace a lot of the production that they lost. They shouldn't be 5th. They should be 1st. I said that last episode. I'll say it again. USCA has Miami number 6 in their top 25. Darian Minson, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Easy. Duh. Anybody knows that. Everybody knows that, right? Cool Barkate went with him as well. And that Barkate and Malachi Tony, like how they fit each other, with one being able to win the deeper routes and one being able to really create separation and win and the intermediate routes. I think that is impressive. They have also production on the defensive line. I'm not mad at that. Oklahoma, USCA, 7th, right, in their poll. A spring emphasis on material mechanics and offensive line improvement. I will say that Brent Venables' defenses have played outstanding over the last few years for Oklahoma, right? And their offense was lacking behind last year. I automatically thought with Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer coming, I think they just had to adjust to the SEC. Imagine if they kick it up a notch this year and play the way that we all anticipated them to play. I like Oklahoma at 7. Some people would disagree with it. I love it. Oregon at number 8, right? Dante Moore is back. Raiola waiting in the wings, right? We seen what Dan Lanning has been able to do since he's been in the Big Ten, and it's been absolute dominance. I like Oregon at 8. Some people going to want them to be higher. I like them at 8. Right now, they're the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. I like them at 8. Ohio State is better, in my opinion. Indiana showed that they were better, in my opinion. I like them at 8. Some people are not going to like it. Ole Miss at 9. Hey, man, I like Ole Miss. Shamlis is back. Kewan Lacey is back, right? They added some pieces defensively. I like, hey, man, Luke Farrelly is there, right? By the way, Clemson, of course. I like them at 8. What I love the most, though, USC is high on this list. 10th, it's crazy. Also limiting lane to the NFL, but when you look at this team, the amount of returning starters that they are bringing back is staggering to me, right? Mahalva is real deal at quarterback. I like this team. I think they're going to have the ability to play really physical at the point of attack. They're going to be able to run the ball, too. They got a stable of running backs. I like USC at 10. A lot of y'all may not like it, but I like them at 10. I like it. I think this list so far has been well-rounded. Texas A&M at 11. Mike Elko, great season a year ago, right? Heartbreaking loss towards the end of the season. A Lone Star Showdown with Arch Manning kind of went nuclear at the end of that game. But we know what Texas A&M can be. They're going to defensive-minded coach. They're going to play outstanding defense. How will that offense look? That's my biggest question for them, right? Heading into the upcoming season. Alabama at 12. Just spoke wonderfully about Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, and I think they're on track, right? The only thing that's bothering me is their running game. Who's going to be the guy running back? We know they got the quarterback battle going on. I think Keelan Russell ultimately wins it because what he can do in this system with the Ryan Grubb offense, but they inability to run the ball last year was staggering. Like, you cannot run the ball at this level. If you playing the physicality that you get in the SEC, and then once you get to the playoff, you can't run the ball, you get 38-3 in the Rose Bowl. That's what happened. Michigan at 13 is a little bit too high for me. Underwood, I don't think has made the progression so far, right? So far, it's spring, it's very early. They got summer workouts, they got the fall camp. Hasn't made the progressions that I expect him to make so far, right? I like Michigan. I think 13 is a little bit too high. BYU, USA Today, number 14, right? Sataki turned down Penn State. He is all in. He's all in on Provo. He really is. Backmeyer and Martin are back. LJ Martin had a stellar year last year. We interviewed him at Big 12 Media Days last year. I look forward because he's one of the anomalies, one of the outliers to when you see these kids. When we interviewed him, he didn't have no jewelry on. Didn't have none of that on. He talked about his parents for most of the time we were interviewing him and saying that the foundation and the soil that he was raised upon. Like, I really like LJ Martin. So he's one of those few outliers. He has money, but he's deeply rooted in his faith. And you can just see it, and he carries himself stellar. I'm telling you, next year, when he's getting prepared for the NFL draft, team's going to fall in love with this kid. So BYU at 14, I think it's a bit high. Or maybe my issue isn't it being high. I'm cool with them being 14. But why in the hell is Texas Tech 15? That's where I start to have the issue. Like, why the hell is Texas Tech 15? Like, what's going on here? Seriously, what in the hell is going on? The money that they spent on their roster, and this had to be done before they knew anything about the Brendan Sorsby situation. Don't blame it on that. But why in the hell is BYU ahead of Texas Tech, and Texas Tech beat them handily twice last season? Do you fools watch college football, or do you just skim through it? My dog, post-game, 86, what's happening, Playboy? How you doing? Hope all is well, brother. Glad you in, and my dog, West, are both in here. But yeah, why is this hell Texas Tech 15th, man? Why are they 15th? Why is BYU 14th, right? They both should be a little bit higher, but why in the hell is BYU ahead of Texas Tech USA today? I need answers. Who's being polled for this stuff? Do they watch college football or do they just skim through it? That's what I need to know. Penn State at 16. So you telling me you guys got Penn State at 16 above LSU? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Get out of here with that. Don't nobody got time for that, man. We love college football way too much, and we're not gonna allow y'all to do this. LSU at 17? Lincoln Riley is there. I'm sorry, I always do that. Lane Kiffin is there. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm just talking about USC, so Lincoln Riley's on. Lane Kiffin is there. Y'all think Lane Kiffin is a 17th best team in the country with the roster he was able to construct, the players he was able to take from Ole Miss, and what he was able to do in the transfer portal, and how his teams go fast? It was reporting in the spring that they was doing 4 to 5 plays a minute. Y'all think defenses can keep up with that? When they played SU last year, Whit Weeks was throwing up on the sideline. That speed was bothering them. 17th best team in the country. What are y'all smoking? Pass it this way. I got the lighter in my hand right now. What are y'all doing? What are y'all talking about? Do you guys watch college football or do you just skim through it? Please tell me. Let me know. USA Today is tripping. Penn State shouldn't even be in the top 25. I said it. I cried my 2 tears in a bucket. Let's take it to the stage, man. If you ever seen House Party, that's a reference from that. But why is Penn State ahead of LSU? Why's Texas Tech ahead of LSU? Why's BYU ahead of LSU? Why's Michigan ahead of LSU? Why's Alabama ahead of LSU? Texas A&M, I respect. Ole Miss, I respect. But why do you have some of these teams ahead of LSU? Why's LSU 17th? That don't make sense to me, bruh. It don't. $40 million roster and they 17th? You're not seeing what James Brown was doing to these cornerbacks in the spring workouts and the one-on-ones? Do you watch college football or do you just skim through it? No way, USA Today. I want to see who polled this, right? For the AP Top 25, we know who's polling, and we get to look at everybody poll, right? I want to call some people out. Why in the hell is LSU the 17th best team in the country? Make it make sense, bro. It just don't make sense. SMU at 18. Really love SMU. I want to talk about them a little bit later once we're looking at the ACC win totals. I couldn't believe when I saw this. I had to check it twice, like Santa Claus, man. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. Going to find out who naughty or nice. USA Today is naughty as hell for having LSU at 17th. Like, put some respect on their name, dog. Put some respect on their name. What the hell is going on here? Right? Utah at 19th. We know that the Scally era begins there. Dan Pierre, man. He's real deal. Really love this energy when I seen him at Big 12 Media Days a year ago. He walked with such supreme confidence, kind of like just nodding his head, walking around, dapping up everybody, talking to everybody. I like Utah at 19. Tennessee at 20. I look at Tennessee. Of course, I'm frustrated that Tim Banks is no longer their defensive coordinator, but Jim Knowles is a great guy to have as a successor defensive coordinator. I wonder, will he get frustrated with this offense? An offense that is predicated in speed, an offense that is predicated in quickness. It can sometimes go through and out. Jim Knowles is going to be like, hey, man, my defense needs a little bit more rest, right? But I do like Tennessee. Who wins the guy? Who's the guy at quarterback? Is it McIntyre, right? I think Staub is just there for a well-rounded quarterback room, but don't be surprised if he is able to play. I think Brandon is the guy. He's a freshman. Put him out there, because if you don't, you have an opportunity to lose him, right? And I think a lot is riding on this for Josh Heupel. Iowa 21. If you have a top 25 and Iowa isn't in your top 25, you don't know ball. You just don't know ball. Carrick Ferentz teams are going to be there. They're going to be ready to play. I don't care about the roster construction. I don't care how active they were in the transfer portal. I don't give a damn if they haven't had a proficient quarterback. It's Kirk Ferentz team. They're going to play physical. They're going to punch you in your face. They're going to smack you in your mouth. They don't care. And they're going to play solid football. So if you're doing the top 25, make sure I was in your top 25, or I will fry you. It is what it is. Right? Florida State at 22. Yo, go somewhere with that, bro. Go somewhere with that. Why in the hell is Florida State number 22 in your top 25 USA Today? Did you poll everybody down in Tallahassee? And the hell has Mike Norvell done the last 2 years that make you think that Florida State is in the top 25, man? What makes you think they're going to be the top 25 as good as they looked to start at the beginning of the season last year? And I'm talking about free falling. And they're in your top 25 team. You couldn't find any other teams? They couldn't find any other teams. What the hell is going on here, USA Today? Like, dude, Action Daniels is starting quarterback. That's cool. But, like, what are you doing? Stop acting like they made up. They played, they was bowl eligible the last 2 years. Last 2 years been abysmal for a storied team. And you can't tell a story of college football without Florida State in it. I get that. You can't. But the fact that they are in your top 25 is troubling to me. Who came up with this? Florida State better than Louisville? Hell to the nah. I'm just talking about teams in their conference. Are they better than Duke? Hell to the nah. Are they going to be better than Virginia Tech when James Franklin is building in Blacksburg? Hell to the nah. What are y'all talking about, bruh? Do you watch college football or do you just skim through it? That's why I always had that down there. Y'all see it in my lower third? Do you watch college football or do you just skip through it? Because I got to know, if these were casuals making this list, then I'm okay with it. But it's USA Today, a reputable, a respected source in print for a long period of time. Why in the hell is Florida State in your top 25? Explain it to me. I just named about four. Florida State not better than NC State. Just named like 4 teams in ACC they ain't better than, but you got them in the top 25. This team probably wouldn't even been in. If we did an ACC power ranking, oh damn, we're doing that today, aren't we? If we did an ACC power ranking, they probably wouldn't even be in the top 7 teams, bro. Like, talk to me nice, bro. I watch college football. I don't skim through it. Talk to me nice. USA Today, you fumble. You fumble first with having LSU at 17. What the hell were you thinking? Having BYU ahead of Texas Tech, a team they beat twice last year. What the hell were you thinking? And then I had Florida State at number 22. You smoking, dog. For real. What are you doing? They tripping. Big tripping. Houston at 23. I do love that. I love Houston, by the way. I really do. I changed my tone when we talk about Houston. And with this Brendan Sorsby news, and if he isn't able to play this upcoming season, I know everybody had BYU favorite. I have Houston favorite. I love Willie Fritz. Connor Weckman, I expect him to be there second Saturday in December, sitting there for one of the Heisman candidates. To get Mekhi Hughes, I got Willie Fritz familiar with. Abysmal year last year, and Eugene couldn't even sniff the field. But I think that chip on his shoulder is going to be so big. I love Houston. And H-Town loves CFB Nation, by the way, so I am going to try and make it to a game this year. I love Houston. Shout out to USA Today for having them in your top 25. But the fact is you have Florida State, bro, I'm never letting that down. Clemson at 24. All right, I'm not mad that Clemson's in the top 25 the way that I'm mad at Florida State being in the top 25, but let them earn it. Let Penn State earn it. You know, they got a new coach. They brought a bunch of players over for Iowa State. Iowa State started strong last year. They were in the top 25. They didn't finish the year in the top 25. Let Penn State earn it. Let Clemson earn it. After the years that they had last year, make them earn it. Make them earn it. Right? And then Boise State at 25. I have no beef with that. I love the fact that you have a G6 team in your top 25. I'm not mad at that at all. But Indiana, my top 25 for the right. My top 5. So you guys know when you're looking at CFB Nation poll. Indiana is number 1 in my top 5. 16-0 last year. Signetti is 27-2. And this time in Bloomington, stop disrespecting them. Don't do it. But he wants you to because he's a sicko. Like, something is wrong with him, bro. For real. Texas at number 2. I'm all in for Texas 2026. Arch Manning, Cam Coleman. Yep, Muschamp, defensive coordinator Ryan Wingo, Hollywood Smothers, Relief Brown. Yeah, I'm all in on Texas. Ohio State number 3, right? I loved what Julian Sam was able to do last year. They were winning games by such a large margin, I think a season ago, when they finally got to them deep water in them games that you got to go win late in games. They just weren't used to it. They just beating the hell out of teams in the regular season last year. Number 4, Georgia. Kirby is Kirby. This defense, I think, will be much improved. The wide receiver room is my biggest question, but they're number 4 for me. And then Miami is number 5. Mensa is a Heisman candidate. The offensive line has to catch up. Lost some pieces on their defensive line, but they were able to gain some pieces on the defensive line. And then Oregon would be my 6th team just outside of the top 5. And then LSU should absolutely be top 8. Lane Kiffin is coming. Know that. USA Today, you're not ready. Did you do your research? Do you watch college football? Do you just come through it? That's all I have to say about that. And I'm not very happy about it. And I think you can tell I'm not very happy about it. But let's move on. Righty, let's go around the nation. We're going to talk about some ACC win totals, some FanDuel odds, schedules, and my picks, right? So, Boston College, FanDuel has them over 3.5 wins. That is the line. I think some lines are pushed. I just don't think things are going well for Bill O'Brien at Boston College. I just don't think things are going well. I have a guy, my dog Nino, who is at all the Boston College games. He's at practices. He's at camps. And I believe what he says. He said things have changed 100%, right? Since Bill O'Brien became the head coach there. And we've kind of seen this in the past. Like, you know, we've seen it at Houston. That ended badly. This Boston College thing isn't going well. But we've always given him credit for what he was able to do at Penn State. I'll never not give him credit for that. They play Cincinnati September 5th. Shout out to Scott Satterfield. I wasn't sure if he made it through last year, but he did. Rutgers September 11th. September 19th, they play Maine. That'll be one win. September 26th, they play Virginia Tech, loss. SMU loss. Pittsburgh loss. Georgia Tech loss. Duke loss. Florida State, maybe a push or loss. Notre Dame loss. And then Syracuse and Miami loss. I'm taking the under, and I'm gladly taking the under for Boston College. I hate it because that's my dog Nino Same. He's at all the games, but I hate it for them. Cal 6.5. JKS Jaren Kiwi Sagapatale. One of my favorite players in college football. Actually had a NCAA dynasty before all these vacations happened for me, and then I can't play in it anymore where I had Cal, and I was able to take them to the championships. They got UCLA September 5th. That'll be a really good non-con game for them. Then Syracuse, Wagner. So they can win that UCLA game. The at Syracuse game will be difficult, but it's a winnable game. 19 versus Wagner. They start the season off 3-0, right? Now we're cooking Clemson. It's a winnable game. UNLV, it's a winnable game. Let's say they split those two. So now they're 4-1. Not bad at all. Virginia Tech, it's at home, which they could win the game. So that can either be 5-1 or 4-2. And then Wake Forest. Wake Forest is the wild card in the ACC for me, because we had an opportunity to talk with all of Wake Forest players last year and Jake Dickert, and all of those players were just saying like he has infectious energy and how loud he is at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So Wake Forest, I'll give them the win, but you know, it's a push for me. So right now, what are they, 5-2 at SMU, 5-3, NC State? That's tough. That's a push. They say they split one of those, so let's call it 6-3 at UVA. That's tough. Let's say 7-3. Stanford 8-3. Pittsburgh, so they can finish the year like 8-4 or 7-5. I'm confident in that. So for this Cal button, I'm smacking the over on that one. Clemson at 7-5. I'm not touching that one. Yes, Chad Morris is back as their offense coordinator. Christopher Vazina is the guy quarterback. September 5th, they play at LSU. LSU was able to beat them in Clemson a season ago. They play Georgia Southern. That's 1 win. They play versus North Carolina. That's 2 wins. At California, I don't know. They may lose that one. Home versus Miami. They may lose that one. Charleston Southern, they win that one. Virginia Tech, they could lose that one. At Florida State, I think they won that one. At Syracuse, it's a push. I don't know. At Georgia Tech, I don't know. At Duke, I don't know. South Carolina, I think they lose that one. Hopefully South Carolina gets it together this year. I'm not touching this one. I think this one's a push. Do they win 8 games? I don't think so. But could they win 8 games? They could. Duke at 5.5. If you're not paying attention to what Manny Diaz is doing there, and then, you know, yes, they won the ACC championship last year, but the pushback's like, yo, they won it at 7-5. They won it. Whether you like it or not, they won it. They won it. You can't take it from them. So, to me, I'm smacking the over for this. September 5th versus Tulane. Give me the win for them. At Illinois. Illinois put hands to feet on them last year. I gave them a loss there. They're 1-1. Stanford 2-1. William and Murray 3-1. At Georgia Tech will be a tough one. So you either say 3-2 or 4-2 there, right? North Carolina, let's say 5-3. At Virginia, that's gonna be a tough one. They beat Virginia in the championship. Virginia's gonna be ready for them. I do like Bo Papula at Virginia. Let's call it 5-4. Boston College 6-4. So we're already there. We're not even finishing the season. At NC State, probably 6-5. Wow, this one is interesting. 3, we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I think their losses would be Miami. I think I gave them the Georgia Tech loss. I think I gave them the NC State loss. So that's 3 losses. I say they even lose to Clemson. That's 4 losses. Let's say they win everything else. That's still, 8-4 or 7-5. I'm definitely smacking the over for Duke. Florida State at 6 wins and a half wins. Somebody really likes Florida State. Somebody really likes Florida State and likes Florida State a lot. USA today had them in the top 25. This is a push for me, but they play New Mexico State. That'll be a win versus SMU. That's a loss in my opinion. Alabama, that's a loss, even though they beat them last year. Central Arkansas, they're 2-2. UVA, Louisville, Miami, they'll lose two of those games. They're 2-4. Clemson, Boston College, and Pittsburgh. Let's say they go 2-1 through, through their stretch. They're now 4-4, right? And then you got NC State and Florida. Like, yeah, to me, I said it was a push, but I'm not touching that one. Georgia Tech, they played Colorado, Tennessee, Mercer, and it's at 6.5. I think this is a push for me. They can win 7 games, but they can't go 6-6, but they can win 8 games, right? I'm not touching that one. It's a push for me. I do like Georgia Tech. Louisville, anytime Louisville's at like 7 or 8 games, I'm going to take the over just because I believe in Jeff Brohm and what he can do as a head coach. So, yeah, I'm definitely smacking the over for them. And I think they can upset Ole Miss in Nashville. I really do. Like, that's one of my early season, like, oh, yeah, I'm calling the upset for that one. Just because of the physicality that they bring. And we see them beat a really good Miami team in Miami last year. So, I mean, Isaac Round is back. So, look out for them. Yeah, I'm smacking the over for Louisville. Miami's at 10.5. I'm not touching it, bro. Like, pause. And I say that because this team's going to be a really good team. I think when we did this a few days ago, I had them going like 11-1. But we know that a Mario Cristobal coach team will find a way to lose a game that they shouldn't lose. Well, like, it was SMU a season ago. It was also... It was SMU and it was Louisville a season ago, right? So you look at their schedule and you say, all right, they could go 12-0. They could go 11-1, right? But somehow they end up 10-2. I'm not touching this one. NC State 6-5. Smack the over immediately. Smack the over. They got one of the best quarterbacks in college football that nobody's talking about, right? So they start out against UVA in Brazil. I don't know. I'll take NC State there versus Richmond 2-0 at Vandy. They can win that game. They can be 3-0. App State 4-0 versus Louisville. I'll give them a loss 4-1. Wake Forest. I don't know. Maybe 4 maybe 5-1. All right, we'll say that. Stanford 6-1. Cal. Either one of those teams, right? Duke. They'll probably win. Syracuse, they'll win. Florida State, they'll probably win. In that North Carolina, this team's going to win a lot of games. Are you guys ready for a Dave Dorian coach team to win about 9 or 10 games this year? I don't think the college football world is ready for that. I don't think that they're ready for that. I truly don't. North Carolina 4.5. I'm smacking the under on this. They play TCU, they're going to want revenge. They play East Tennessee State, they won that one. Clemson, I don't know. Notre Dame, they'll lose. Pitt, they'll lose. Duke, they'll lose. Syracuse, they may win. Miami, they'll lose. UConn, they may lose that one. Louisville, they'll lose. Virginia, they'll lose. NC State, they'll lose. They may get 2 wins this year or 3. Unless Bill Belichick got a special coming for us. Pittsburgh got 7.5 games. I really like what they have there in Pitt. I really do. They're going to always be there in the thick of things. I'm not touching that one, respectfully. SMU at 8.5 games. I'm not sure, right? I want to say that Kevin Jennings, this will be his year, right? I really do want to say that, but I think the ACC, when you just look at parity across conferences, it's just a lot of parity there. Stanford, I'm taking the under. And Syracuse, I'm not... Like, if Angeli is healthy and he plays the way that he played at the beginning of the last season, Syracuse will clear 4.5 game easily. And I think they'll be bowl eligible, right? But it's just all depending on how healthy it is. If he's healthy, I'll take the over 100%. UVA, so Virginia schools aren't allowed to have how many wins that they have. This is every year now. So I would say they're probably both somewhere around 7 or 7.5 games. I like Bo Prabula. I like Tony Elliott a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens well for these teams, but if they were both a part of it, I would definitely say over for both of them, to be honest. And then wait for it at 5.5 games. I told you I'm a big fan of Jake Dickert, so I would definitely take them with the over. So that's ACC win totals. We're going to do this for every conference. It's been a really fun episode, man. I feel like these episodes, like, the longer I do them, the more I feel like that they just, an hour doesn't take as long as it used to. I remember when I first made the transition from about 30-minute episodes to hour episodes, it used to feel like an hour was a long time, but now it don't. And we seem to get to that hour mark. When I say expeditiously, I truly mean expeditiously, man. Just to kind of recap this episode, Brendan Sorsby, get well soon. Hopefully him throwing himself at the mercy of the court, it ends him with a lightened sentence of like a 2-game suspension or something like that. They do have a backup ready. And Will Hammond, I think, will do all right. USA Today, yeah, like, your top 25 wasn't terrible, but there were terrible parts of it. Florida State shouldn't be in your top 25. Why is BYU ahead of Texas Tech? Why is LSU 17th? Like some of this is laughable, bro. You guys are just a reputable and respectable source of news and information. You have to do better. You absolutely have to do better. You really do, like, because we care about this thing that we call college football, right? And we want this thing done in the right way. So these top 25, and I judge everybody top 25s. Even when us at CFB Nation do ours, I'll even say, well, damn, I wish we'd have done this instead of that. Like, we critique ours too. Like, it ain't no freebies. Yes. Yeah, CFB Nation, that's my brand. But at the end of the day, if we have a bad poll, I'm gonna say it's a bad poll. It is what it is. We don't got no cut cards with it, man. And so I always like to say there's no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest effect of the season. Until next time, we'll see you guys Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, expect a short or some type of upload. You all take care. Shout out to West May. Shout out to Postgame. Shout out to everybody who's always in here when we're here live every day talking in the comments. Don't be afraid. We always have more than people that's in here, but don't be afraid to comment. You comment. I may not get it right there, but at some point I'll break away from what I'm talking about and I'll get there. You all take care, and one love, of course. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
Great defensive minds. They have to be better on that side of the ball.